How and when did you become a woman as opposed to a girl?
Probably in my mid-20s, but I feel inside now like I'm maybe 14. It just got married and had children. That was serious, but I'm going backwards.
What do you mean by that?
Younger. I'm feeling younger. Gosh, that's deep.
I don't know. Well, when I was younger, I used to be like, I am a young black woman. But, like, didn't realize, like, I'm just, like, a little girl and stuff like that. But, like, I think it's all about, like, your stance, your maturity of how you uphold yourself. Being, like, a black woman, especially, like, in America, and especially being, like, from a school like this or being from North Philadelphia, it's kind of hard keeping yourself upright and having, like, this standard of I am educated, I am black, I am a woman. I know from what's right and what's wrong. I know how to uphold others and I know how to uphold myself. And it's hard sometimes. It's difficult. I understood like my growth and everything and how like not everything's perfect. I still have a lot of growing to do. I'm not saying I'm a woman right now. I am a woman right now, but I have a lot of things to figure out. I'm just excited for it. So
I'm both at all times. So like I don't think that anybody ever lets go of that little girl or anyone becomes that complete like woman. I think that you're always both, and I think being a woman is being able to tap into both parts of your identity whenever you want. Like sometimes, you know how they talk about healing your inner child and stuff a lot? Like doing things that little girl you would really like. I also feel like we also have like a voice in our head not from the future, but kind of like there's always like there's something wise in everyone, like intuition wise. You kind of know what's right and wrong, and I feel like that's the older woman or the woman as opposed to the girl. But I feel like I have both, and it's about tapping into either one at the right time or being both all together. But it's hard. I literally just like learned that. But yeah,
that's true. I definitely I agree with that. Like I feel like if you see me walking down the street, you wouldn't like. I mean, I don't know. You could call me a girl, but I would see myself as a woman, like a young woman. But even so, there's parts of myself that are always going to be with me, like being a girl. Like parts of me are always going to feel like a child. In some ways. Like I think that's important to hold on to. Like not completely being an adult, I guess. Sorry, that was
keeps you alive, honestly. Like if I were to completely leave my child self, I don't know. There's so many things I want to heal from that and stuff, so it's like, I don't know. Yeah, both.
Yeah. Oh my god. I think I became a woman today. I start seeing my mom as a woman instead of just a mom. It was like realizing how much hard things she has been through her whole life, and how most of my life I just used to see her like this person that feed me, that give me things, that has to take care of myself, and then seeing her as this woman that maybe no one has taken care of in so long,
Oh goodness. I established independence, and in that that's a hard question. It's a good question. I'll think about this all day today. Yeah, I'll stick to that. Establishing a sense of independence, so moving past the environment I was in of nurturing, going on by myself. So learning about how you're perceived as a woman versus a girl, demanding respect in certain rooms, and having to address my responsibility in that. To be clear, probably going off to college and learning how to engage in conversations and the ability to provide that perspective, maybe. I don't think I'm making much sense in this. I'll give an example. I work in a field where it's predominantly white male education in Virginia. In those spaces, I've been asked to sit in certain areas of a room, or eye contact has been specifically driven to one individual rather than myself. And in those spaces, technically I'm the person to be directing those conversations, and it's assumed that it's the male in the room. And so in those situations, I've had to reestablish direction of conversation, and I think in learning to do that, as I've moved from girl to woman, has, I think, allowed me to separate and deem that a transitional experience, maybe. Yeah, I would add one more thing, too. I don't know if the topic of gender is a focus in this at all. I live in Richmond, and I think it's a hot topic right now in many aspects of the world, specifically the United States, but non-binary, cisgender, those areas of conversation are providing a lot of insight into definition of gender. And I think that I have the ability with the school that I'm working with to learn more about that and how it affects people. And I think these questions are a great way to get the mind to explore those various silos that might be present. So I appreciate you asking it.
Oh, that's a tough question. That's a really difficult question because I still feel like so young, you know, like I'm only 20 years old, and I think that in my life I've like envisioned like what a woman is as like, you know, someone's that's just like very independent, like has their stuff together. And it's kind of hard because I don't think I've like really become like a woman yet. I'm still so young and I still have so much to experience before I feel kind of like mature enough to, I don't know. That's like a hard question. I would have to think about that more, but I don't know. I still feel so young, so I don't know how to answer that.
I say by 25, you usually develop more to a woman. Things start changing mentally, your perspective of life. You know, I'm a mother, so at the time, you know, by the time I was 25, I was a mother. That also forces you to become a woman if you're not mentally already, so it's pretty much the answer for that.
Probably when I became a mother, in my late 30s. It opened up a whole new world, thinking much less about myself and much more about the world outside myself, especially my children.
I don't think it was a one cut and dry moment. I think it was one day you looked back and realized that you were at the point where you had dreamed up growing up, and then you realized that's where you were. It was actually at an engineering meeting, and the professor looked at me and said, "My dear, you were meant to be an engineer." And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, I did it.
I don't really know. I'm not sure on that one.
Probably like when I got to college, I guess. Like maturity wise, like being on my own, like living by myself, I guess. Like learning how to like, I don't know, like I knew like how to do my laundry and stuff like before I got here, but just like doing things by myself, like without my parents and stuff.
When I learned that I had to start taking like responsibility and I was in like charge of my actions, I would have to say when I went to college, because then I had to like grow up. So I was like, oh, I can't be a little girl. I had to like survive. Yeah.
When I started drinking black coffee. Switched from lattes to black coffee. You don't need cream and sugar.
I don't know. In Germany we have this weird thing, it's called Jugendweihe. It's like when you're 14, the adults say that you are now a part of them. And then you get like a drink and flowers, and then they say like, yeah, welcome to the adult life. So that's kind of what they are doing in Germany sometimes. Maybe that's one step towards it, but the other step is for me, like going out of home, going to university, different city, different people, and like growing there. So I think that's like the switching those home parts with the new life. Yeah.
I guess when I was just expected to do things on my own, go to doctor's appointments on my own, stuff like that, shopping, yeah.
Kind of getting out of like under my family, having my own beliefs, like thinking for myself, which I know you can do that as a young girl. Like I obviously had my own opinions, but just being able to express them and not, just expressing my ideas, and that's kind of it, I guess.
Oh shit. Honestly, I would say in the last year. That's when I grew up a lot.
Yeah, I think I would say when I was 21.
Yeah. Career changes, realizing stuff that I didn't like anymore, that type of thing.
I think for me it was like financial issues, friends, like losing friends and family. You know, you just outgrow people, I guess.
I would say maybe around like 22, because I feel like more so like adulthood, a lot of the responsibilities. I think that, you know, it takes more to, how do I say this? I think that becoming a woman versus like from a girl is like more than physical. I think it has to do with like a lot of like responsibilities and kind of like growing into adulthood and like stuff like that. So I would just say like somewhere between like 22 and like 24.
I feel like I haven't really become an adult yet, but I'm not really a child. I'm just like in between because I'm not as mature as I should be, but I know a lot more than I used to, and I've learned a lot of lessons. So
I feel like mine is probably way younger than what I'm going to say, but coming into college and being in ISAT 5-6 years ago, one of the few women in my STEM field, and so just learning that I just don't have a voice, but I also have a right to be in the spaces that I am, was kind of an awakening moment for me. I feel like I always was just existing and not really realizing that people would take advantage of me, and so then realizing I had like a moment where somebody physically removed a marker from my hand and erased what I wrote and rewrote it in their handwriting, and that was the moment that I was like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I have to speak up, and I also like deserve to be here. I earned my right, so no thanks, and then took back control.
Mine's, I don't have like specific moments like that. I just remember like thinking like after I had graduated college, I just remember sometimes driving and just thinking about how much like responsibility I have, but also thinking about how empowering that is to know that like I can make all the decisions for myself, and anything that I can do, if it goes wrong, I am the person who's responsible for fixing it. And so just being able to know that like everything is up to me at this point, and so I have a lot of responsibility. I think it's really scary, but it's really cool.
After I had a horrible relationship, I learned a lot.
The first time. That's a really difficult question. A woman opposed to a girl. When I started making choices for myself and not for other people.
Probably when my mom died. It was about 30-some years ago, so it was earlier in my life. You face reality then when you no longer have a parent.
I think it's kind of depending on yourself and on the culture you're living in. I think Germans are more and often more mature than other cultures people, and we learned early on, or maybe my parents told me early on, that I'm me and I have to make my decisions, and if something goes wrong, it's my fault and nobody else's fault.
Yeah, I think it started really early, maybe about 2014. But last time when I graduated school and moved out, that's an important step.
I think when I gave birth, honestly, was the most like definitive time when I felt like a woman, because I was able to like bring this other human into the world, and it was this moment of like, whoa, like that is what I'm made of. That's crazy. So maybe I think there was other moments before that, but that was definitely the most like day and night moment of like, I am a woman, because I just grew a baby and birthed the baby. So yeah.
How did I become a woman? Well, I guess by you don't really think about these things that often. I guess by just taking these big steps that I've already been doing, like coming here to Westchester, making my own decisions, apart from like back in high school when people would make decisions for you, or they would pick out your path for you or help you hold your hand along the way. So that, as opposed to now, I'd say I've just grown more independent as a woman, as opposed to what I was before, which wasn't independent at all.
Probably, I would say last year. I think last year was a big developmental time for me. I experienced a lot of social troubles, and I think that made me more sensitive to other people. And from my experience, I think I've gained more understanding as to what another person is going through, what it's like to be in their shoes. So I think that was a very big growth year for me.
From a girl to a woman, probably listening to other people and not just be so tied up in my own concerns, because I know there's like other people that are doing better than me, doing worse than me, and I have to accommodate to that. The world does not revolve around me. And also, I guess being like calm, as that makes sense. Sometimes he knows this, whenever I like lose things or like things don't go my way, I like freak out, and and that ties in with the things don't revolve around me kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh my God, I can tell you that specifically. November 5th, 1990, when I had my first daughter. I was only 19. I would for sure say that. You know, I was a teenager and I was the youngest of the kids in my family, so I really didn't have an experience with children or babies or anything. And then I had my daughter at a young age, and that's it. You become a woman and a mother, and you're not a kid anymore, whether you want to be or not, or a young girl. You're, boom, that's it.
Like when I got my period.
If that's where you want to go with it. Not a question I've had, or an answer I've had before.
I think it was probably when I traveled alone to Europe for the first time. That's when I really wasn't sheltered anymore, and when I grew up and started to develop, make my own decisions in life, find my happy place. Yeah. I learned how to be independent and on my own, and just realizing that I can do anything I set my mind to. It sounds cliche, but that's what I learned.
Probably when I became a mother. I feel like, he has children from a previous marriage that I also kind of, mothered in a way, but having your own child, I guess, definitely makes you feel like more like a woman. Being pregnant, I think, made me feel like a woman, made me feel very powerful as a woman, because I grew a whole baby. He helped, but, I think that made me feel like a woman, having a baby. Being pregnant, for sure. Whew.